1 in every 100 people are affected by OCPD. Even more are affected by its symptoms. Obsessive-compulsive personality disorder is a disorder which involves an obsession with perfection, rules, and organization, which leads to routines and rules for ways of doing things. According to Dr. Stephen Phillipson, people with OCPD are comfortable with their high standards and rigid mindset. In fact, a person with OCPD will justify their actions and never admit any sort of mistake. Any sort of mistake is blamed on the environment or the circumstances. A person with this personality disorder shows symptoms of perfection from early adulthood, which is about our age, and this kind of perfection can take a straight-A student and cause them to flunk out of college. Because they try to make everything perfect, they can never start their assignments, and even when they do, they can't get them to be perfect. Today we will be talking about the symptoms of OCPD and their causes. What are the symptoms of OCPD? According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, for a person to be diagnosed with OCPD, they must have the following symptoms. Number 1. Preoccupation with details, rules, lists, and order to the extent that the major point of the activity is lost. People with OCPD give too much attention to trivial things, which is why they can't see the big picture and get the job done. For example, some people with OCPD feel the need to be obsessively clean and organized, and while many actually are, even those who aren't feel the need to set up systems to maintain cleanliness, whether they actually follow through with it or not. Number 2, perfectionism that interferes with task completion. According to Dr. Stephen Phillipson, getting things right and avoiding any sort of mistake is very important to them. Due to this, they're often indecisive and they procrastinate. And since making the right choice is so important, even making simple choices becomes a nightmare for them. And for us as humans, making the right choice always is impossible. So this is a regular source of discontent. Their indecision often holds them back in life. For example, if they needed to find a job and given too many choices, they couldn't choose any because none would be just perfect. They hold themselves up to very high standards and which they can't possibly meet, and when they don't, they become depressed. According to professors at the Department of Psychiatry at Brown University, people with OCPD are generally pessimistic and depressed, sometimes even to the point of suicide. Number 3, overly stubborn about matters of morality and ethics, and about having things done in exactly their way. People with OCPD view all actions as either wrong or right. Of course, a person with OCPD is always right. Because of this, their personal relationships often suffer. And because they always feel the need to be in control, when they aren't, they withdraw emotionally. According to the cognitive model of personality disorders, people with OCPD see themselves as hardworking and responsible, and they see others as lazy and irresponsible. Number 4. Inability to discard worn out or worthless objects, even ones which are useless, and have no sentimental value. According to Dos Jeffries, professor of psychology, they are unable to resist the urge to acquire objects, even those which are useless, and they can't throw them away. He says that 20% of people diagnosed with OCPD have compulsive hoarding as their primary symptom, and 43% have it as a secondary symptom. These people also have a relative who hoards, which suggests that it might be genetic. Number 5. Adopting a miserly style of spending towards both themselves and others. They see money as something to be saved for future catastrophes. They are always anxious about things which may go wrong later in their lives, which is why they save up money for future emergencies. For them, money isn't something to enjoy. It simply gives them a feeling of comfort, of something to fall back on. Because of this, they minimize the amount of money they spend in their everyday lives, which causes other people to see them as cheap and stingy. Now that I've told you about the symptoms of OCPD, I will tell you about their causes. What are the causes of these symptoms? These symptoms are fairly common individually, and just because you have them doesn't mean you have OCPD. According to the Gale Encyclopedia of Mental Disorders, no single specific cause of OCPD has ever been found. However, faulty parenting is known to be a major factor. Researchers have found in their studies that people with OCPD generally had parents who punished them harshly for every little mistake and rewarded them for almost nothing. But according to the Handbook of Medical Psychiatry, OCPD is also believed to be genetic. Researchers have found that people with certain genes are more likely to develop OCPD. But these symptoms of OCPD may not manifest themselves until the person is faced with a situation which brings these symptoms out. In other words, some people who genetically should have OCPD may never get it at all. Today, we've learned about the 5 main symptoms of OCPD and their causes. Obsessive-compulsive personality disorder is a disorder which involves an obsession with perfection, rules, and organization, which leads to routines and rules for ways of doing things. In addition to the 1 in 100 people are affected by the disorder, the many more who are affected by symptoms can get help too. If you have all or some of these symptoms and they affect your life negatively, you can also get checked out. With proper help, people with OCPD or its symptoms can control them and lead a rich and fulfilling life.